A very good afternoon to all the viewers. Today we are here in a conversation with Advocate Arunima Jha, Bombay High Court, on lawyers' well-being. So I'm going to start with my first question. My first question to you is, from your experience at the Bombay High Court, how does the culture of always being available affect a lawyer's mental and emotional health over time?
Hi, Varun. Thank you. Let me start by saying that thank you for having me here. It's such an important topic to be discussed. And I'm glad that, somebody is making noise and we're talking about it. Honestly, in both high court and corporate roles, the pressure to be always on or always available is already there. And, it is slowly chipping away at your nervous system. In the sense, we sleep lightly, our brain stays half online even at 2 a.m. And every message or a ping feels like it might explode into a crisis, whether it is, some colleague's remark, your boss's remark, or you're preparing for, some matter for the next morning, or there is a business team behind you asking you to give you the red line ASAP. So on the surface, while you are delivering, everything, but underneath you are running on adrenaline and guilt in the sense, if I rest, okay, then there is guilt that if I miss something, or if I'm not instantly responsive on WhatsApp or Teams or email. So, further to this, I think work from home and hybrid have made this worse in many ways. Earlier, at least leaving quarter office created a natural cutoff. Now the laptop is 5 steps from your bed and hearings. There are board calls, there are client reviews, and all happen from the same chair without without any boundaries. The work spills into every corner of your home life, and the home also stops feeling like home. It becomes your a workplace in a way.
Okay, my next question too is, many lawyers equate resilience with silence. Where do you think this idea comes from, and how can the profession being to redefine resilience in healthier terms?
I feel honestly the legal profession has long glorified the unshakable, strong lawyer. Okay. We all have seen suits and we think we all, want to be like Harvey Specter, who is absolutely strong and, composed all the time. And the one never complains, the one who never says that they are tired. They never admit, okay, I have anxiety or I'm feeling anxious about, I have a hearing tomorrow, or I'm going to sign a very big contract. There is some mergers or acquisitions that I'm doing. And, your juniors are watching that and they conclude that if I speak about my mental health to this person, that means I am weak. So, real lawyers, they sort of just keep quiet and they carry on. So in both litigation and corporate, that shows up as a that people are swallowing panic attacks before board meetings. They are staying quiet about any sort of burnout, which is during your appraisal time. And you are anybody who asks you for support, we label them as soft or weak, right? So a healthier definition of resilience is very different. I feel it is knowing when to tap out a bit, when to ask for help, and when to redistribute your work. So if you have to say this, you should have the courage to say that this space is not sustainable. And if you want me to keep doing good work, right? Um, I feel I need certain pause and I need certain support. And that is resilience with recovery, which is built in, not just endurance at any cost for me.
Okay, so here's the third question. In high stakes litigation, stress is often normalized. At what point does part of the job quietly turn into harm for lawyers?
See, there is a territory of urgent listings, or there is a territory of 2 a.m. closings. There is a last minute markup. And it crosses into harm when, your sleep is broken for weeks, not days. I'm talking about when you're continuously working for many, many weeks and you do not, there's no ceasing, there is no pause. You feel either completely numb or on the verge of tears most of the time. And on bad day at work, you know, even or rather one bad day at work makes you question your worth as a person, not just as a professional. So in court, that might look like some junior has fainted after a harsh rebuke, or let's say there is you know there are thousands who do not faint but they shrink. So to me, I feel that we should stop taking chances, and you should chances on situations like these and stop operating from fear. Um, to also add, I think in if I refer to corporate or work from home life, it might be waking up already exhausted, or dreading your inbox or staying online late, and because you need to. Okay. And it is also about you're terrified, if I'm not being seen online, that means I'm not committed enough. So in a virtual environment where visibility is already fragile, at that point stress is no longer part of your job, it becomes your health risk. You know what I mean to say?
Okay. So how does constant exposure to conflict, arguments, disputes, and adversarial settings shape a lawyer's inner life outside the courtroom?
Look, I'll break it in both corporate and litigation scenario. Now, as when you are a litigating lawyer, you're trained to you train your brain to live in conflict. So you argue, you anticipate attacks, and you constantly prepare for the worst case scenario. That is something which is common with all litigating lawyers. Corporate work again has its own version. So you have your boardroom disagreements, you have tough negotiations, and you have escalations where everyone is CC'd on the email and nobody wants to blink first. So if you never step out of that mode, you would start carrying it home. So outside work that can show up as something, turning every disagreement in a debate to be one, and that could be at your home with your friends. We start over analyzing texts, emails, and even tone in normal relationships. And we are struggling to just relax the mind because the mind is always scanning for the next problem. So I feel without conscious decompression therapy or exercise or any sort of creative outlet, uh, simple quiet time, the adversarial setting becomes a permanent mental lens. So even at home, I feel a home conversation start to feel like a cross examinations, or family and friends become your accidental opponents, the way I like to put it, instead of being your support system.
And what aspects of legal training unintentionally prepare lawyers to neglect their own well-being?
Look, this is the conditioning doesn't start at your workplace, it starts early. And even law schools culture, they normalize any sort of late nights, endless competitions. Okay. um, you have internships and there are no boundaries. There is always a constant message that if you are not dying of exhaustion, you're not being serious. So by the time you join a law firm or a corporate legal team or somebody's chamber practice, you're already treating your body as optional. So workplace reinforces it. You have your billing targets, right? You have urgent emails, you have midnight filings, you have your weekend calls and performance reviews. And there are that reward output, not sustainability. So you're praised for, okay, you are going above and beyond. You're rarely known for when to call. We do not recognize people and say, hey, you are able to balance out both work and your life balance, your work life and your home life balance. So over time, you learn to override hunger, your fatigue, your emotional pain, because the work is always feeling louder than your sickness. And I have been guilty of doing that. So I understand when people are being exhausted from constantly trying to go that above and beyond and achieve that extra milestone just to be the star performer of that place. Could be for a month, could be for a year, but there comes a time when you feel exhausted and it all just comes down.
Here's the next question. Junior lawyers often fear that setting boundaries may cost them opportunities. And how can young advocates protect their well-being without feeling professionally insecure?
Look, I feel when I started my journey as a junior in a law firm, and the first few years in the firm and also as an in-house team, I often felt I'm replaceable. Okay. So I always had this apprehension that if I say no once, they'll find someone else to do the job. And the fear is real because uh, there are no boundaries. And if you put boundaries, they become dramatic to be effective. So both litigation and corporate, I think it helps to ask for priorities. There are three urgent things. If they're on your table, then ask what matters most today. Offer options. For example, I can finish this draft tonight. If so, the due diligence note will move tomorrow afternoon. Which one would you prefer? You know, options like that. And clarify availability in work from home. So let's say if you're working from home, just tell them that post 10 p.m. I'll only be reachable for serious escalations. If something can wait till morning, please mark it accordingly. And by doing so, you're not signaling that you're weak. In fact, you're telling them that you're committed and organized, not a doormat. Over time, your colleague and seniors learn that you're reliable, but also bound. You have your own boundaries. A combination that actually builds trust and respect for anybody as a professional.
How you observed any have you observed any difference in how men and women lawyers experience burnout or emotional exhaustion in litigation practice?
Honestly, I feel women often carry extra layers. Uh, there are courtroom biases. When you are a female advocate, there are safety concerns, especially if you're traveling late, whether be in litigation or be in corporate, and the expectation to be pleasant yet assertive. There are unpaid care work at home. And in a corporate of work from home, that can mean that you're taking calls from dining table while also managing your domestic responsibility. Because as females, most of us, we, do carry our own domestic work as well with very little true downtime. And if I talk about men, I think they are hit by a very different script in the sense that they are always told to man up and take more and never admit that they are struggling. So their burnout may show up is they become angry more, they are facing withdrawal, they become, there is a often cynicism or overworking even more. So as a man, you're not allowed to say that I'm not okay. You always have to be that strong and on your foot. And a third category to this is the queer lawyers, and those from marginalized backgrounds. They often have to navigate all this plus bias or any sort of exclusion, which is adding another invisible weight. Varun, will you give
Okay.
me a minute? Somebody is at the door. Sorry. Just, can we take a pause here?
Yes.
Just a minute.